To be more precise, you can even age backwards. Translate in English assistant. Hello, this is Canada Daddy. I've started a new segment to help you understand the power of the mind and to share everything about the world, whether it's in the economic or career field or any other area. When you want to achieve as much as you want, when you want to succeed, how far can our brain help us? There are many sayings here and there that the brain is great. We should utilize the power of the brain. But in everyday life, we don't often have the opportunity to feel this, nor do we get the feeling. When you want to succeed, I will tell you today about the shocking, if not actual cases and research results that help you succeed, the brain. Let's take a look at the powerful and amazing cases of brain plasticity, or neuroplasticity, one by one. Brain plasticity and neuroplasticity are the same thing, but since brain plasticity is shorter, I will unify it as brain plasticity today. First of all, what is brain plasticity? In a word, it's the ability of the brain to change its own wiring in response to external stimuli, environmental changes, and so on. If I tell you straight away, there is underfloor heating, right? There is underfloor heating wiring under the floor. But when the severe cold comes, the underfloor heating wiring laid under the floor changes itself to heat more. Our brain actually does this, which is impossible. This has only been revealed about 20 years ago. The dominant thought in the academic world about the brain was this. To be more precise, you can even age backwards. There's a reason why I say you can age backwards. If you don't train, that is, if a person doesn't show the will to succeed, the brain naturally ages in the same sequence as other organs. There is a world-renowned scholar in the field of brain plasticity, Dr. Michael Merzenich. In 2017, he received a lot of attention for talking about the brain that overcomes dementia in our country. At the time, he was 75 years old, and his brain utilization was recorded at 990, which is in the top 10. The average brain utilization of a 40-year-old adult is 83. So at the time, the doctor's brain utilization was incredibly high regardless of age. Dr. Merzenich said this, the double-edged sword of brain plasticity is, because the ability to control it is in the individual. Finding the correct answer will be the key to human survival. Because when you continue to make the right choices, the body and brain continue to develop. He speaks more strongly, don't take dementia for granted. In neurology, dementia is still considered a natural disease of our life. But based on the theory of brain plasticity, dementia is just a collision of the last train of life. You have to brake to prevent the collision. The wife who trains the brain has a lot of noise, that is, regular signals that interfere with the smooth flow. We just leave such noise like electrical signals alone, so naturally as we age, the brain becomes increasingly weak. Dr. Merzenich has the results of a test conducted on thousands of people. If you don't train your brain and just leave it, the perception, speed, auditory comprehension, vision, sound, analysis ability, etc. drop by 1 minute every 10 years from the peak of 30 years old. But here, the doctor says, when a 20-year-old and a 90-year-old are trained in the same way, people develop at the same rate. A 70-year-old who received training improved to the same level as a 20-year-old who did not receive training. Of course, if a 20-year-old receives the same training, it will be better, but a 75-year-old can be at the same level as a 25-year-old. Of course, in order to show positive effects in concentration and processing speed, it is possible when there is a physical change in the brain through training in various ways. Here, Dr. Merzenich shows an amazing piece of data. He recruited men and women who are over 75 years old and living normally, and they trained their brains for 10 to 16 hours. The program is a well-known program called Brain HQ. I won't go into detail in today's video, just because everyone over the age of 75 received training without any difficulty. Brain training is not as huge as we vaguely think. And now a shocking result comes out. After training the brains of participants over 75 years old, the brain speed has improved to the level of 20 years old. It has improved up to twice as much as before. The doctor says, even a year later, the brain speed was still twice as fast. They gave them 2 to 4 hours more training and tested again after 2 years. And it was almost the same level, and it was much better than the beginning. Even at the age of 85, 10 years after the first experiment. Compared to the group that did not receive training, safety while driving, reaction speed, problem-solving ability also improved, and depression, which increases as you age, also decreased. They spent less time while maintaining a much better quality of life in daily life. Also, even if you do not receive any training for 7 years, or 10 years after 10 hours of brain training, the brain speed decreases by 30. The doctor emphasizes that if this brain checkup is taken for granted, like the ordinary tests we go to the hospital, such as blood pressure check, gastroscopy, it can prevent or delay dementia. Yes, everyone, we have now realized that our brain is definitely different from other organs. Unlike other organs, you can make the brain younger through training. Whether you will live being eroded by a brain that is frighteningly shrinking without any training, or whether you will live with full support from this brain. As a stepping stone to the success you want, it depends on your will. It's up to you to choose. Then how do you train this? I'll tell you exactly the really thrilling ways to easily train your brain in your daily life. The first is the book Alice in Wonderland. If you don't have it at home, you can borrow it from the library or buy a book. You read Alice in Wonderland once a week. You might wonder what this absurd training method is. The brain tends to be more activated when it encounters a ridiculous situation that doesn't make sense and feels anxious. According to a paper published in the journal Psychological Science last month by a research team at the University of California, Santa Barbara campus, people who read strange and absurd content have twice as much ability to analyze data or learn new patterns. It is said that somewhat strange, absurd stories unconsciously stimulate the brain and train it. Also, people who have experienced culture shock by traveling to a strange country have a 20 increase in problem-solving ability. Paul Sloan, a computer software expert who graduated from the University of Cambridge in the UK and is working as an author, has researched when human creativity wakes. The result was that creativity wakes up on a somewhat complicated and messy desk rather than a perfectly organized desk. It is also surprisingly helpful for the brain to wake up flexibility by asking a bit of a stupid question among close friends. The second way to train your brain is to go to a suitable cave when you have to use your head. This is in the same context as reading Alice in Wonderland. According to the results of the University of Illinois, our hearing is also more creative when there is a little noise. At this point, you might be wondering why abstract thinking and creativity are so important in training the brain. In the end, waking up this brain plasticity means expanding the wiring of the brain into more branches. The ability to come up with different thoughts than what we have been doing so far is what makes the brain younger. That is, makes the brain speed faster. The third method is aerobic exercise. The effect of aerobic exercise on the brain has already been introduced in a previous video. If you want to refer to more content, please refer to the video with the thumbnail that says, "This makes people suddenly smart." Especially, there is an experimental result comparing this aerobic exercise with other exercises. Aerobic exercise increases the volume of the brain area that governs memory and concentration. According to the results of the University of Illinois, if you do aerobic exercise, like jogging and walking for about 3 to 4 hours a week, not 3 to 4 hours a day, it strengthens the protein that helps the growth of neurons. So even if you're really tired and your body is heavy, I urge you to do aerobic exercise for a few minutes a day. It strengthens the brain. The fourth thrilling way to strengthen the brain is to have a conversation with yourself while mumbling. A research team at the University of Thessaly in Greece has found that mumbling alone, that is, talking as if having a conversation, is a way to strengthen the brain. If you look at world-class sports players such as the Major League and the Olympics, you will see them mumbling something to themselves before or during the game. That's right. But this actually has an effect. Mumbling to oneself, as I always say, gives a tremendous help to trying to have a conversation with me. As I keep saying, don't be embarrassed. What's embarrassing about mumbling alone? If you're really embarrassed, I'll give you a perfect solution. Wear a mask. It's not a joke, it's real. You should enjoy talking to yourself. No, you must enjoy it. The last one is to breathe deeply. Research psychologist Douglas Herman announced the results of a trick when there is a stressful event. People who complain immediately are observed to have slower learning speeds and decreased memory. Especially, nurses working in the intensive care unit of the hospital had a lot of memory loss compared to nurses working in the general ward. But this was improved by deep breathing. When a stressful situation occurs in your daily life, you can't avoid the blow. Then take a deep breath slowly. This is now supplying fresh oxygen to the brain. Just this alone can largely resolve the stress response. This is how to prevent the decline of brain ability. Yes, everyone, today we looked at a variety of cases of brain plasticity. And we talked about how to easily train your brain in your daily life to maintain a young brain and even make the brain younger even though the body is aging. But this is what everyone will know. Even if I tell you all this, there are very few people who actually practice this in their daily lives. After all, moving this into action is also the power of the mind. And if you keep that power, the brain will now fully support you. Tomorrow, as much as today, I will tell you about the tremendous power of the mind based on extensive research results. If you have a topic you want to know how great the power of the mind is, please request it in the comments. Our team will collect all the research cases in the world and produce a video that can actually help you. I hope you have a more successful day with a one younger brain today. And this has been Canadian Daddy.